traditional advertising will always stay, so there'll still be amount of some TV advertisement, some billboards, etc. But digital is such a big wave, and definitely here to stay. I think overall on a very very massive rise.
I think that's what I was saying in earlier also, is that India is going to see so much growth because there's so much gap to cover. So much gap to cover.
Absolutely.
It's great to see like people are seeing this gap, people are like, finding the solutions and to put it out in the world.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the dark truths. Should founders go to VC capitalists? Should founders build their companies the traditional way? Should they bootstrap their company, or they go out, invest in VC capitalists?
That's a very very strong debate. I think the very clear answer is knowing if you need the capital, and if you're building a venture capital returner. I'll tell you what that means. So, some companies require investment from the outside because they need growth capital. They need large amounts of capital that help them get to a point after which they start becoming profitable. These are usually product companies or disruptive ideas, which are like, let's say, a hardware idea. SpaceX is a good example, right? So SpaceX wouldn't have been able to build an immediate rocket, which means they wouldn't have revenue until they build a rocket, which means it needs risk capital, right? And if that rocket would have been built, then it would have been a large return for everyone around. They got the NASA contract, etc. But they had to be venture backed because it was a reasonably risky thing to do, and it would not generate returns at the start. In comparison, let's take a service company, which is a lifestyle business, right? Let's say I am doing marketing solutions for a lot of brands. So you give me money, I will arrange vendors, I will do my creative work, I will have a margin, and I will get revenue from day zero. Do I need external capital for this? No, because my offering is sorted, my need gap is sorted, my revenue is sorted, right? What will I do with the capital? So you could argue that service companies may not need capital because you're making revenue, you have profitability, you can take the profitable parts and actually reinvest in the business. So why would you want to go to an external investor and
Mhm.
dilute your profits, right? Why would you want to give your a piece of your company to an external investor? However, product companies like an Airbnb, for 10 years raised capital, right? And they've been one of the largest successes in the last 15, 20 years. They were started in 2008, they went public 2022. And that kind of a business requires capital, because you couldn't have taken like five properties and been like, we will continue growing only these five properties and we'll be profitable. Because the meat of that business is, can we go, capture the entirety of United States in terms of supply of Airbnbs? Can we expand beyond the US? Can we go to other countries? All of that requires growth capital, which means your business has to be venture funded, right? Which means there is an advantage to getting a venture investor, which will give you large amounts of capital. You will utilize it for the growth, and in return, they will get a share of future profits. It'll help you build a company for the long term, very large, scalable. So the question to answer is: are you building a VC backable company, or are you building a lifestyle business? If you're building a
Mhm.
lifestyle services business, highly profitable, then you should bootstrap. I don't think you should then get attracted to VC capital. Valuations sometimes attract people. These headlines cover only VC backed businesses. So sometimes it can become attractive as a founder, but I think you should know what kind of business you're trying to build. And then also, when you when you go to a VC, you're setting up a very high expectation, by the way, because if you unless you build a very very large company, nobody wins. Because that's the game of the venture capital business, right? You have to build large companies. However, some people don't want that. Some people want every year to see profits. They want to take back good capital back for themselves as a founder. They want to, not grow at astronomical paces. They want some amounts of, let's say, more balance in their lives, which is absolutely okay. So there will be a combination of both types of businesses which will exist. As a founder, you should just be very rational in saying, do I need this? Because see, when you go to an investor, you're also parting away with the most for expensive thing that you can give to somebody. a piece of your company, right? So it does
Yeah.
not come very easy. It is not
Yeah.
coming at no cost. You have to be very cautious in saying, do I really want to give somebody else a piece of my company? And what cost does it mean, right? So, yeah, I think you should make that call very, very carefully.